WBTV News starts right now with breaking news.
Task force officers killed, police officers wounded, taking on gunfire while serving a warrant. A Charlotte neighborhood under siege for hours.
We heard, like he said, like more than 100 gunshots, like bum, 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 bum.
Neighbors in this community forced to take cover, some running for their lives.
Next thing you know, I'm hearing pop, 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 pop. I ran up out of there.
And now a grateful city is in mourning.
They lost their lives after they gave us the opportunity to be in a safe place.
Tonight, live team coverage of a day filled with courage and sacrifice that we will never forget. And our city stunned tonight by that deadly, violent standoff in East Charlotte, and now we have just learned a fourth officer has died as a result of that shootout. A Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officer identified as Jonathan Iyer, a husband and the father of a 3-year-old. He'd served 6 years on the force. The officers were shot in a normally quiet residential neighborhood on Galway Drive this afternoon, not too far from the plaza. 4 other officers, 3 of them CMPD officers, were also wounded in the line of duty. The CMPD officers are expected to be okay. And we are bringing you live team coverage tonight. WBTV covering all aspects of the shooting. And we're going to start in the neighborhood where this all happened. My co-anchor, my partner, Siobhan Bryan, is live with how the officers are being remembered. Siobhan?
John, I'm here on Galway Drive in East Charlotte where the absolutely unthinkable happened, disrupting a usually quiet neighborhood on this Monday afternoon. Right now, I want to show you video of a processional that we saw earlier this evening outside of Atrium CMC Main, a medic ambulance leading the way as dozens of law enforcement vehicles trailing behind it, lights on this tragic day. Local law enforcement lost some of their own who were just trying to protect and serve us here in the Charlotte community. Some local families will never see their loved ones walk through their front doors again, and we can only imagine the grief that they're feeling tonight. Right now, I want to bring in my colleague, Chief Investigative Reporter Nick Oxner. He's at CMPD headquarters, and he's going to walk us through exactly what happened today, including an update that we just got from CMPD just moments ago. Nick?
Yeah, Siobhan, we're now just getting in the information and the suspect that task force was there to arrest today. This information just coming to us in the last 10 or 15 minutes. We now know the suspect in today's deadly standoff and shooting was Terry Clark Hughes Jr., 39 years old. He was wanted on arrest warrants out of Lincoln County, according to Charlotte-Mecklenburg police, for felon in possession of a firearm and 2 counts of felony speeding to elude officers. Again, those charges coming out of Lincoln County. It was on that warrant today that the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force was at his home, that home in East Charlotte in the Plaza Shamrock area. According to Police Chief Johnny Jennings at a press conference earlier this evening, that task force showed up in his front yard and a shootout started. We know that a deputy U.S. Marshal and 2 other members of that task force from the Department of Adult Corrections were shot and killed. A 4th member of that task force was also shot and has so far survived. We also know that 4 Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officers immediately responded to that scene upon a call for backup, and they were also hit. One of those officers now also dying, as John told us at the top of the show this evening. That was an officer who'd been on the force for just 6 years, Officer Joshua Iyer, who leaves behind a wife and a 3-year-old child. 3 other CMPD officers remain in stable condition, at least at last check, with Chief Johnny Jennings. Let's listen, though, to how Chief Jennings talked about Officer Iyer when he announced his passing just a short time ago.
He certainly dedicated his life and gave his life to serve our citizens, and I ask that you will keep him and his family and all of the others that fell victim this afternoon. Keep everyone in your prayers. And at this point, just wanted to announce
It is notable that, according to Chief Jennings, Officer Iyer was recognized as an Officer of the Month for the month of April. He said he was in that command post where that press conference was late this evening, just within the last 30 days for being recognized. Now, we also should highlight that Chief Jennings earlier this evening in his first press conference, about 6 o'clock tonight, said that what happened here today, you saw officers rushing towards a scene knowing that there was active gunfire. He said that is the definition of heroism and bravery that he talks about from CMPD officers every day. So, to recap, we now know that 4 law enforcement officers have given their lives today. Another 4 were shot and remain injured this evening, responding to serving that arrest warrant started with the U.S. Marshals Task Force. Again, this remains very fluid. We continue getting new updates, and we'll stay on this story. I'll send it back to you for now.
The community out here tonight is absolutely struggling with exactly what happened. They're trying to determine what actually shook out in this neighborhood, trying to deal with it, trying to cope with it, and trying to figure out where we go from here.
It's like you see in a movie, but real life.
Tyler Wilson lives just up the street from where the hail of bullets happened.
Tyler, get in the bathroom, Tyler.
Several shots, hundreds, at least 100 shots.
Wilson says when police started taking up position in his house, he just went on instinct.
You just black out. You know, you kind of go into autopilot.
Wilson says he was forced to take cover under the barrage of gunfire. Others heard it as well, just about a block away.
It sounded like World War III.
Carlos Fonseca was driving by at the time of the shooting. He was trying to make it home from work and was stopped by officers on the perimeter.
More than 100 gunshots, like boom, 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 boom. And we were like, hey, you know what? We better take off home because it seems like really, really dangerous.
Next thing you know, I'm hearing pop, 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 pop.
Even for people like L.A. Saunders, who had served in the military, it was jarring for him being so close to the gunfire.
You duck and you run. Did you duck and run? I took off. Yes, I did.
Police held the line for hours, not letting anyone in or out. But the end eventually came.
There was a handful of shots and about 15 minutes of silence and then another round of 5 or 6 shots.
The gunman, according to police, was down, another in custody. While this neighborhood may have finally stabilized, it is nowhere near normalized after living through what no one could have ever imagined.
I think it takes more than just this neighborhood. It takes a whole nation to get behind these kind of things and stop the senseless acts.
Now, it took the neighbors out here several hours just to even venture out to see what was going on, and what we saw was very touching. People hugging police officers, crying with them, and telling them, I am simply sorry. Let's bring Siobhan back in here. And Siobhan, I can tell you, after 36 years in the news industry, this was definitely one of the hardest stories I've ever covered.
And that is in line with what Chief Johnny Jennings said. He said in his over 3 decades of being with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department that he's never seen anything quite like this. And this is just a tragic day for everybody that has any knowledge of it. Right now, I want to take you to Atrium Live at CMC Main. It's been a very active day all day today. We've been seeing police lining the roadways. We've been seeing road closures, things like that, as people at both Novant and Atrium were trying to block those roads to keep them clear for any first responders, any paramedics that needed to get to the hospital quickly. Atrium actually released a statement later this evening saying in part, quote, we are deeply saddened by the tragic incident that occurred today involving multiple law enforcement officers. Our Atrium Health Carolinas Medical Center emergency department teammates immediately began providing care to the injured. We have also been extending emotional support to their families and colleagues. As you can imagine, the weight of this day is felt by so many people on so many levels, from the governor on down. We've been hearing so many statements from so many of them, and the investigation on what exactly happened today is still just getting started. John?
All right, Siobhan, thank you so much. Meanwhile, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper headed to Charlotte shortly after news of the shooting broke. He paid a visit to Atrium tonight, and he says he spoke with one of the officers who was shot.
He was worried about his fellow officers. He was so grateful that he's going to survive as his family was. So, yeah, it's tough tonight, but I thought it was important for me to let them know on behalf of the people of North Carolina that they are not alone.
The governor also says at least 2 of the officers killed this afternoon were working with the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. They were part of the U.S. Marshals Task Force. And tonight we're getting new reaction from officers and leaders both at home and across the nation. This is from the National Fraternal Order of Police saying, "This violence against those sworn to protect us must stop. We stand with our officers and against the senseless violence that endangers them and our communities." And we have a joint statement just in tonight from the Carolina Panthers and Charlotte FC. Owner David Tepper and Nicole Tepper, his wife, say, "We are deeply saddened to learn members of the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force and a CMPD officer were tragically killed in the line of duty today. Our hearts go out to everyone affected by this horrific tragedy." And we have new reaction from the North Carolina Secretary of Adult Correction. We just told you how 2 of those fallen officers work for that department. The department says Sam Pelosi and Alden Elliott were both 14-year North Carolina Department of Adult Correction veterans. These officers died as heroes and made the ultimate sacrifice in their service to our state. North Carolina Representative Alma Adams also weighing in tonight. Take a listen. We talked to her earlier.
It's a terrible tragedy. Our law enforcement officers are trying to protect our communities, and then, as I heard the mayor say earlier today, you never know what's going to happen.
And we learned late tonight the Chester Sheriff's Office is inviting everyone to a prayer service for Charlotte law enforcement. It's at 7:30 tomorrow morning, 7:30 tomorrow morning at the Gateway Conference Center. That address is 3200 Commerce Drive in Richburg, South Carolina. That is exit 65 on I-77 in Chester County. And our coverage of today's tragedy in East Charlotte continues when we come back. New details tonight as we continue to follow this heartbreaking story of multiple officers shot and killed in the line of duty in East Charlotte. And I want to go live now to our Dedrick Russell, who's been working on this all day long, and he's got reaction from the city tonight. Dedrick?
Well, John, I can tell you there is evidence. A whole agency is grieving tonight here at this federal building. I want you to take a look at this right now. The flag has been lowered, and just below that flagpole, you can see flowers in honor of the lives of the officers taken today. In fact, it reads on one of the base of those flowers, in honor of our brave deputies and officers. Charlotte City leaders, CMPD, and this entire community are hurting tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Dante Anderson represents the area where those fatal shootings happened, and she says when she wakes up tomorrow morning, she will still be in disbelief. She hopes this will bring the community together, while Mayor Vilaus says she wants the community to remember the officers who pay the ultimate sacrifice doing a job they loved.
These are people that care deeply about what they've done for a profession, and now today we have to say to them how much we are grateful for what they have done.
I am hopeful that the community will come together and come together stronger after an event like this. You know, we need our communities to be safe. We need people who want to be law enforcement officers. We want that to be a career of choice, and we want our officers to be safe when they report to duty every day.
Tonight, the U.S. Marshal's Office and CMPD are calling those officers heroes tonight. We're live at the U.S. Federal Courthouse. Dedrick Russell, WBTV, on your side.
All right, thank you, Dedrick. And we are bringing in our security analyst, Carl De La Guerra, into the studio right now. Carl, you have worked with police officers, you have trained police officers, you're an expert on security situations such as this. Just your take on what happened out there today.
An incredibly tragic situation. It goes to show that every day that these officers go out to execute warrants, you never know what's going to happen.
Do you think, based on what we know right now, they approached the home? The suspect apparently walked out of the home, began firing at officers. They fired back, killing the suspect, but someone inside the home began shooting. Is there anything you think should have been done differently based on what we know right now in order to have prevented what happened?
These are highly trained officers. They work together. They're a unit. They're a highly trained unit. things just simply go bad sometimes, and that's what we have here.
The response of the officers, the 4 Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officers and Joshua Iyer who responded, they got a call that this was happening and they ran toward the shooting. What does that say about police officers?
Incredible bravery. When that call comes across the radio, shots fired, officers need assistance, officers down, the safety of those individual officers is the furthest thing in the back of their mind. They want to get to the scene, they want to assist, they want to save lives in any way they possibly can, and that's what all of these heroes did today. They went to the threat.
A lot of people look at police officers as wearing bulletproof vests, or they're wearing tactical gear or whatever, and that should protect them. And there may be a misconception about how well protected they really are when it comes to a situation like this. What do you think about the vest and the tactical gear they might be wearing? Does it really protect them?
Well, it does protect them, John. This is personal protective equipment that they would have on, standard issue equipment they would have. However, there is no such thing as a bulletproof vest. These are ballistic resistant vests. We call them ballistic vests for that reason.
And so what happens now with the investigation? We know the suspect is dead. There are 2 other people who are in custody right now, and they're questioning them. What happens now?
The investigation begins. You really have to look at these detectives. They have so much on their mind. They have just lost colleagues there. There's that natural human reaction. But their jobs this evening are just beginning at the scene. They have to recreate that crime scene to determine exactly how it happened.
All right, Carl De La Guerra, we appreciate your insight, Carl. It helps us much better understand this situation and what is happening out there.
Glad to be here.
All right, we are going to get back into this major story, and we are back on the air at 4:30 in the morning. We're going to have some sobering numbers about this attack, though, coming up in just a few minutes. First now, we're going to take a quick look at your first alert forecast. Let's check in with meteorologist Lisa Villegas. Lisa?
Hey there, good evening. I do want to give you a quick update because we are expecting a couple of first alerts. The first one's going to arrive tomorrow, now rolling out some spotty showers and a thunderstorm or 2. And then the next round is going to happen by this weekend. I know a lot of us making plans, but we do have another round of rain and some thunderstorms. But let me get you at the door tomorrow morning. Sunrise at 6:33. Temperature-wise, not a bad start. Eventually falling in those upper 50s. Overall tomorrow, the big change, because we did wake up to upper 50s this morning, that's going to be the cloud cover. It's going to be mainly cloudy, not only tomorrow morning, but throughout the afternoon. So plan on those changes. Overall, temperature-wise, for tomorrow morning, heading out the door, upper 50s for most locations, from the south up towards the north, lower 50s, however, for those in our mountain communities. Now, tomorrow afternoon, this is when we're going to have highs peaking once again in those upper 70s, lower 80s. But like I said, the cloud cover, that's hanging around in parts of the forecast here, and then we're going to get ready for those changes. So an approaching weak frontal system is going to push through. So 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, high-level clouds slowly starting to build throughout the day. 12 o'clock in the afternoon, this is where we start to see some of those showers kind of trickling in, especially out towards the west, those in the mountains, parts of the foothills. You're going to be the first to start to see some of these isolated showers rolling through. And then we're going to continue with these spotty scattered showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. Take a look at the timestamp here, right around 7 o'clock, dinner time. That's when we can expect a lot of this activity to arrive across parts of Mecklenburg County, right along I-77. So keep that in mind for the timing if you have to be out and about. Now, rain chances, we're not just completely done by tomorrow, still hanging around early Wednesday morning, and then into the next week, this is when we start to peak, right into the weekend. And like I said, I know a lot of us are making plans. So as we kind of fast forward through Sunday afternoon, this is where we could see up to around an inch, maybe 2 inches of accumulation in total for what we're expecting maybe a little tomorrow, but more significantly, this weekend. So this weekend is when we're going to get ready for some rain chances, and I know, like I said, a lot of us are making plans. We do have the Love and Life Festival. That kicks off on Friday. So Friday, better day to head out if you're thinking about maybe which day to head out. Just because I do think it's going to be a lot quieter, more sunshine that afternoon, temperatures upper and mid-80s here, and then we start to cool down a little bit. Still not bad when it comes to the temperatures as we head into the weekend, but showers start to increase. Thunderstorm chances will pop up once again, so it could get a little messy. As we take a look at that 7-day forecast, we've got that first alert in place tomorrow. Again, this weekend, we do eventually clear out here, John, but overall morning showers linger around Monday morning, and that is a look what we can expect.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And we've got more context and reaction coming up on this deadly standoff in East Charlotte coming up in just a few moments. We're going to be back right after this short break. All right, we have new details just now coming in. Just moments ago, President Joe Biden released a statement about today's tragedy in East Charlotte, and it reads in part, they are heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice, rushing into harm's way to protect us. We mourn for them and their loved ones, and we pray for the recoveries of the courageous officers who were wounded. When a law enforcement officer puts on that shield in the morning and heads out the door, their family members dread the phone call, the very call that came today. It's like losing a piece of your soul. To the families of those we lost, Jill and I and all Americans are here for you, and we will always be here for you. Now, today's deadly shooting in Charlotte has made worldwide news, and the New York Times is reporting this is the deadliest attack on law enforcement officers in nearly 8 years. According to the article in the Times, 5 officers were killed in Texas in July of 2016 after a sniper opened fire in downtown Dallas. That happened during a demonstration against fatal police shootings. That same month, 3 officers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana were killed and 3 others wounded in what authorities described as an ambush. We'll be right back.
We're winding down on an absolutely tragic day that will undoubtedly go down in history as one of the darkest in the history of Charlotte and for area law enforcement. Back here on Galway, it's mostly quiet besides this police cruiser behind me that's stopping any casual traffic from getting closer to the scene where this deadly encounter happened. Since I last talked to you just minutes ago, we saw a Union County deputy drive to the scene, and they just left just moments ago. And it just goes to show so many agencies work together to keep our community safe in Charlotte and beyond. That brotherhood, unfortunately, was rocked today, and so many are feeling that grief. And we can all feel the gravity of this day, whether you have family in law enforcement or not. And that grief is for this East Charlotte neighborhood that was rattled by that gunfire. That grief is for these first responders, these law enforcement officers who put on that badge every day to protect and serve all of us who have now lost some of their own. And of course, for those families that will never see those loved ones walk in their front door again. It's an absolutely tragic day, and we'll continue to bring you the very latest as the situation continues to develop. John?
Thanks, Siobhan. And we saw the epitome of courage today by these law enforcement officers. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's a tough night across Charlotte as we mourn multiple law enforcement officers. If there are any new developments with this story after we are off the air, you'll find updates on our social media pages and our website, WBTV.com. Otherwise, the WBTV morning team is going to be covering what's happened since this newscast beginning at 4:30 in the morning. Be sure to tune in. And by the way, now would be a good time to download the WBTV News app. You'll be able to get alerts if anything new happens. It's available at Google Play and the App Store. We'll see you then. I'm John Carter. Thanks again for joining us for WBTV News at 11. It was a day we won't forget.
I live in this neighborhood for 10 years, never saw this, never thought it can even happen.
A day we must not forget.
Make sure that these officers who have families have people to reach out and hold them up.
What kind of malice could have fueled this?
You can have all the hate in your heart that you possibly can have. That should never result in taking a life.
As Charlotte rests tonight, we remember the brave officers who gave their lives so that we could live in peace.